All right, and hey guys, this is John, and welcome to another standard chess video. That's right, we're back with this series. Let's play Sicilian here, playing Paradoxical Mind, 2151, Lee Chess Rapid Rating. Okay, and we have a Wing Gambit, B4. Yeah, right off the bat here, complicated line. Taking is definitely the principled thing to do, but with the confidence that my opponent played that move, I'm going to play B6 and reinforce the pawn. I think this is an okay way to decline the gambit. And I don't want to think too hard in the opening. So I'm not interested in accepting a gambit this early. Oh, and this is interesting, actually. I'm rated 2152 classical. This is a classical game rather than a rapid game. I was expecting it to be rapid, but I think because it's 15-second increment, it counts as classical. So we'll bear that in mind. Okay, knight c3. Let's go ahead and play knight c6. I hope you have all been well here as we start 2023. Thanks so much to those of you who tuned in to my last video. I know I've uploaded sporadically over the past year, and even a bit beyond that too. But it was great to see all your comments. And one of the reasons I'm making a standard video right now is because many people have requested it, both in the comments to recent videos, the last video, and also on Twitch streams that I've had recently. So really great to see. And thanks again to everyone following my content, learning from it, spending time with me over the years. I've been posting on YouTube since 2014, and it's hard to believe we're coming up on 10 years. So let's keep going. I've got plans for more content this year, so let's do it. All right, so e6, looking to perhaps play a knight to e7. Kind of depends if white goes bishop b5 or not. This is essentially an open Sicilian position, or one that could easily turn into one if white were to go d4 in particular, but without the b pawns. So I'm curious how that's going to affect things. I think if bishop b5, knight e7 is fair. Perhaps one difference is, yeah, maybe I want to go bishop b7 against bishop b5, because if I were to play a6 in the future against the bishop there, white could play bishop a4, and I don't have b5 like I normally would. So I think Paradoxical and myself were both weighing the similarities and differences compared to quote unquote normal Sicilian lines. Okay, so my opponent plays a bishop to c4. I'm thinking in this case I might go to f6 with the knight, not fearing e5 because a knight g4, that tends to work out just fine in my experience. Yeah, I think I will do that. Anticipating castling, whereupon maybe just bishop e7. Again, I wouldn't be greatly offended if white were to play e5, even if I don't win the e5 pawn. But white goes ahead and plays it immediately. Okay, let's go knight g4. I don't have any other good move. We're certainly not going to these squares. Back to g8 would be super lame. h5, generally a no-no. Okay, queen e2. So I was wondering about this move. That would be the direct attempt to try to win this pawn. There is knight b5. Maybe that's what my opponent's banking on, like queen c7, knight b5, queen b8, rook b1. I could see that being a potential issue, threatening knight d6. Okay. I have backup moves if I don't like queen c7. For example, just bishop e7, h3, knight here. I don't think that's a terrible idea either. This knight is undefended, but realistically, how is white going to take advantage of that? I'm not quite seeing it. So you know what? I think I'm just going to play bishop e7, calling a bit of an audible, changing up my plan. But in view of this, queen b8, rook b1, that does look unpleasant. It's, speaking of comparisons, one of the things that is different here compared to normal, I think I would have the go-ahead to play queen c7. But if this happens, I think to truly try to prove that the knight is poorly placed on h6, white would have to play g4. And that already looks like a pretty radical decision when white's king may start to feel a bit naked. Certainly, they're not going to go queenside, I would think. Okay, so d3. And now that this move has been played, I'm again looking at queen c7. I also see a tactical idea that just cropped up because of my opponent's last move. What if I take here? We get a trade, and then I hit them with bishop f6. Bishop f6, because then that attacks the queen and the knight behind. I control... actually, they can't even get to a5 because my pawn is in the way, but I was going to say I control the a5 square. I have a feeling that should be very good for me. Take, take, take. And if that were played, it looks like a pretty clean pawn. Yeah, queen takes e5, bishop f6. If queen takes c5, I take c3 check. Then I can scoop the rook. I'm just looking to see if there's problems with my king on the dark squares at the end of that line, like bishop a3 or something. I would highly doubt it. There's not a mate threat. I think I'm too solid there. So I'm probably good to pull the trigger on this move. I could take it with this knight, but it feels more secure to do this. Leave this knight aimed at d4 perhaps in the future. I think very likely we're going to have a trade. What are the consequences of take, 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 and then bishop takes e6? Shouldn't change much. Also, I should note in this variation, if white goes queen e4, I can take with check. Very important because white would be aiming at my rook on d8, but taking with check is pretty key. Then hitting the rook on a1, d5 maybe in the air. Yeah. Now I'm trying to fact check myself right now. I'm trying to find any way if I were playing white that I would refute this idea, even if it looks ridiculous, but I'm just not seeing it. Just all comes down to that knight on c3 being weak and white being weak on this diagonal once my bishop hits f6. Let's go ahead and do it. By the way, just to recap for you chess improvers out there, if you're looking to improve your game, especially by playing online, which I think is the majority of you watching these videos, take advantage of the rapid and classical games on Lichess, chess.com, wherever you play. Chances are it's going to be one of those two sites, but wherever you play, I highly recommend playing longer games if you want to improve. Blitz and Bullet, even though you see myself play tons of Blitz and Bullet, other streamers as well, those time controls are not for improvement. Those time controls are largely for fun. Sometimes maybe targeting certain things like Blitz can be good. I think I wrote in my last video, in doses, in moderation, for training your intuition, your calculation, practicing openings. But it is not a primary time control for improvement, especially if you're below about 2,000, I'd say. So 100%, you want to be playing rapid games and maybe even classical games if you can online. Okay, so I'm really curious what white's going to do here because they had to have seen that bishop f6 was coming. Yeah, white does play queen e4, so that targets the rook. But remember, I had planned for this, and bishop takes c3 is almost certainly what I'm going to do. This feels so luxurious, this time control. I can think a little bit more. So, I'm entertaining moves like this too, but I think almost certainly we're going to bank the knight. Yeah, let's go take it with check and see where white steps. Bishop d2, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Interesting options here. Obviously, this rook is hanging, but I have to assume white's going to take my rook when I capture there. I could take and then give a check like queen a5. Probably the most principled thing to do is take, take, and play d5. That does not appear to win material, though, because of this. Okay. But I am still looking at that option pretty seriously. I could go bishop d7 at that point and try to trade down. I could move my king and try to sneak in queen a5 check. That is another option. So take d2, king takes d5, bishop e5. Let's say king f8. And I think white more or less has to play queen a4 there. There's queen g5 even at that point. My coordination's a little suspect there. What other moves could I look at in this position? There's this right away. Could I move order my opponent? D5, bishop e5, then king f8? After queen a4, how much does that change things? Probably not much. I don't see a benefit to that move order. Don't see a huge benefit there. Don't think queen a5 directly is going to lead to much either. Queen takes a8, bishop takes d2. They move the king. So I think we're looking at bishop takes on d2 and then either rook b8 or the d5 move. The only downside of me taking here is that white does get to coordinate their rooks. It almost feels like there's something here, but can't quite put my finger on it. Take, check. Yeah, but then d5 doesn't work because a bishop takes d5. So I'm leaning towards takes, and rook b8. That is what I am currently leaning towards. Or takes, d5, bishop b5, bishop d7, something like that. I think if I want to go up to a pawn up position, that's the way to play it. We won't think too much longer here. I'm already spending a significant amount of time, but I am a pawn with a good position. Just looks critical. I'm trying to find a way to truly, truly punish them beyond even a pawn. But sometimes it's just not there. Sometimes it's just not to be. Okay, the rook b8 move, I got to be careful of queen e5. Like in this case, here, this queen a5 hitting this, also this. So I think the d5 move is going to be the way to go. d5, bishop e5, bishop d7, queen a4, a6. That could liquidate to an endgame. Pawn up endgame, but an endgame nonetheless. All right, let's go for this. Check. Play the d5 move. I'm going to think just a little bit more after bishop b5, which I believe is almost entirely forced. I mean, maybe white could go here, but yeah, okay. So bishop d7 or move the king. King f8 is a more maximalist approach. It might be better, actually, because I can hide my king on g7, like g6, king g7 in the future. It kind of appeals to me because although it inconveniences my king, like this is also not so comfortable for white. Putting the queen all the way over on a4. I keep looking at this queen g5 idea that I will have after that, along with rook b8. These are appealing. These are definitely appealing to me. Okay, let's try it. Yeah, I don't think I'm risking a whole lot right here, so let's do it. Got some decaf coffee, by the way. I know you guys are always interested in what I'm drinking. I'm recording this at 8 at night on a Friday. Been a long week, good week, but a long one. First week of the year. Okay, so importantly, I don't see any alternative to queen a4 because queen a5 check is coming otherwise. That's going to win material. I mean, I briefly looked at this move, check, and then if I get to take like queen d6, but I can come back to e8. I'm not going to go king g8 and allow them to back rank us, but king back to e8, I think that should be winning. So highly doubt that white does that. Yep, so queen a4. So maybe white's worried about this move, which I admit I'm tempted to go for, but I don't know that the timing is right for that one. I might want to hold that in reserve. Like if I go for this pawn, feel like white might get a little bit of counterplay that I should otherwise prevent or disallow. So I'm thinking maybe this move. Yeah, let's play this one. Not afraid of this because I take. Activate the rook, prevents any bishop c6 shenanigans. I still keep that in reserve. By the way, back here, king e7 was another option. I kind of ruled it out because of this, but I did want to point out that that was a consideration. Shout out to Juicer Carlson, by the way, in the chat. Okay, so rook b1. Yeah, I was going to say that looks pretty natural. I was thinking a5 might be an option here. Again, looking at the checks. Those are also options. Queen c7, maybe. Queen c7 looks pretty calm. Because now this pawn is loose. That was the downside of playing the rook over. However, I think the a5 move should be fine if I really want to attend to that. Just thinking about like bishop c6 and then rook b4. Rook takes b4. Then maybe a quick a3 or something. Yeah, I might want to try to get coordinated a little bit faster. Queen c7 might be the move here, huh? It's too bad because I'll have to rule out the queen g5 if I do that. Well, it's kind of tempting to look at some check situation like that too. Not really seeing that pan out though. Yeah, I think I'm going to go queen c7. Maybe it will actually be the case that my king comes here to coordinate. Depends on what white does. But I will play queen c7 now. All right, now I'm obviously pretty far down on the clock, but I like my position still. We've got the 15-second increment. This looks like a critical time in the game if white wants to get some compensation. So I'm still feeling good. I do have to watch that base time, though. We don't want to get like 3-4 minutes and my opponent having 10 plus or something. That wouldn't be good. Psychologically, these moments are kind of tough in games that are interesting because I really am just intellectually curious about the past about 5 moves, like ever since I won the pawn. I feel like perhaps there was some way I could have maximized my advantage that I failed to pursue, but I can't tell myself to think about that too much. I have to tear myself away from that because we have a game to play and my position's still plenty good. So let's just focus on the task in front of us. Okay, bishop a6. So here's where I was thinking maybe I could do this move, which I know appears to be an about face, but might be the thing to do. It may be the plan. Bishop d7 definitely not working because the rook takes b8. Okay, am I scared about a check here? f6. Things get a little tender around my king, but I'm not seeing that being a big issue. Yeah, I think king e7. If take on c8, I will have to stick with the rook. I have to give up the file then, though, don't I? Oh, no, of course. I can take with this rook. That's kind of the whole point, John. So if here, this rook takes, take here. White cannot put a rook on b1. That's important. There's queen c6, but that doesn't appear to do much. So I think this move is probably just the best coordination-wise. Yeah, let's play it. It's interesting that white used this rook to go to b1 because it does box in this rook. You always have to ask yourself, what is that rook actually going to do? I think white played it because maybe they wanted a runway for their king here and ultimately didn't think their kingside rook would be useful. Oh, and by the way, I am eyeing up this pawn, but given what's happening on the queen side, this skirmish over here, I'm not in a position to take this yet, so we're not going to do that. F4 is also covered by the white queen. Note. Okay, yeah, this is really starting to crystallize for me, like how I'm going to play this position. Okay, so maybe their idea is to take on c8 after my next move, after f6. I think that's what they're going to do, but I think I have to play this anyways. Maybe they're going to try here and get me to take so they can take h7. But I can take with the queen now because white's queen is no longer guarding, no longer attacking a7. There's also queen a5 as an in-between move. I don't think it does much, though. Okay. Could even take here, but I like the idea of keeping a rook on the b file. I want to oppose the enemy down the file here. Tricky, tricky. Okay. Let's take. Yeah, so playing f6 is undesirable. I mean, I'm not thrilled that I had to play that move. My king is always going to be slightly exposed, but then again, so is white's. And we're still up the pawn. Still ahead the pawn. In a perfect world, my king would be like here, and this rook would be somewhere like a castled position, you know? But we can work with this. Queen g3, perhaps, trying to pressure this and this. Maybe I go king f7 against that. Queen d6, maybe there. Could see that happening. Could play g6, but again, that's getting into a lot of pawn moves. I might want to keep some pawns on the 7th rank just to provide some protection for my king. Does play queen g3. Okay, I think my opponent's doing the right thing. They're slowing down at this point. Looking to cause problems. Definitely how you want to play it. Could go rook g8. That is possible, isn't it? Because white's in a bit of a logjam down the file. Maybe they'll play rook b3 at some stage. King f7 is what I'd like to do here, but I'm not really finding a solution to queen d6. Don't see like a good counter to that. So hence looking at rook g8. Rook g8 feels passive, but sometimes you got to play passive moves if the situation demands it. Alternative is g6. I have a feeling if I play g6, they're going right back to the h file, but maybe then I go king f7. Might be fine. Okay. I think I will do this. Oh, I'm so torn. If the queen comes to h6, that would be annoying. But not something I can't ultimately deal with, I feel. This is a close decision. G6 or rook g8. Let's play g6. So this would just be a big old trade. White's not going to do that. That would be a rook ending, down a pawn, probably losing. Yeah, rook b3. I think that's a pretty reasonable way to play the position. I approve. Okay, so c4 comes to mind. c4 is interesting. Always an explosive move. And if rook takes b8, maybe I insert c3. c4 take. Can I actually take with the queen? That might be legit. Because I have some checks and I eventually take a1. My king's pretty exposed, though, if that happens. Probably would have to take with the pawn. All right, I'm doing what I said I didn't want to do. But I'm trying my best here. I don't really want to take, because after a takes, I feel like that's a pretty good transformation for white. Not something I should probably categorically rule out, but that feels like a strong transformation. I would like that line if I could take with a queen, but I just don't know that I can actually do that and win the game. I think I'm looking at a drawish situation there. Rook b6. Yeah, I mean, rook b6 is playable. Why not rook b6? Rook b6, queen c6. Okay. Yeah, if white can do it, I can do it, right? Here. Start unwinding, or here. Oh, no, there's queen c7. Okay. So queen c6 probably my next move. I don't recommend that you adhere to the John Bartholomew School of Time Management, by the way. I tend to over-explain and under-execute in terms of time in my games, but at least you guys get to come along with me when I do that. So white actually did take. I'm a little surprised by that. Because even though I don't have the file anymore, like that does repair my structure a little bit, which is, I thought, what white was trying to do. So now I have a long, uninterrupted chain here. But there's some weaknesses still. Like white can poke and prod at these pawns. However, with material coming off the board, like I think that was a mistake by white. Because it seems to me I should have an easier time consolidating my advantage now. It's still not going to be simple, but it's an easier time. And there's a big difference. Like white undoubtedly is going to throw up some roadblocks here. Let's see. If here, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Then I basically just have to guard h7. I could imagine white doing like this or this. Maybe I play h5. The pawns are forward, but as long as my king doesn't get checked like on the 7th rank, it should be okay. And I like that I might be able to play my rook over to a8 if I get a chance. This is a heavy piece ending. The queens and the rooks are the heavy pieces. Okay, there's also a queen here. Feels a little defensive. I don't like my queen there as much. So let's play queen c6. At this point, I don't have a ton of time to just nitpick between moves. I got to play natural moves. The position is simplified a lot. Okay, h4. So here white comes with the pawns. All right, I think rook over is pretty natural. I could go h5, but nope, that would be a blunder. Do not play h5. Scratch that idea. Let's go here. Natural move, hit the pawn. Instant h5 by white. Interesting. Okay, so I was intending on playing this one. Not going to take because that allows check. Not going to take here because I don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, let's advance and keep this closed. Then maybe I start inching the king over. If white goes all out here, f4, queen d6 looks a little awkward for them. F4, queen d6, queen g4, and then maybe rook a4 is a nice move. Probably not queen takes f4 because I think I have to trade down, take here. There's this threat. But let's see if white decides to play this. It'll be interesting. I have to keep in mind if this rook leaves. Okay, white does do this. I feel like this is a bad move. I feel like that's a definite mistake. There's also queen c7. Okay, I'm going to play this quickly. I want to see if I can catch white. White knows that I'm in a bit of time pressure. Let's see what they do, though. Because this would be the natural move, I'd say. Trying to actually threaten to take here, because currently white cannot, right? And then white's going to reckon that after this, they have some chances. Normally, this, I think, would be bad. But the fact that they have rook h7 and go after this pawn in the end, and this pawn's dangerous, that gives white chances. So I think if white is really understanding the position right, they would go here or here, but they do play this one. And here's rook a4 looking nice. I like the timing on that move a lot. White might go g3. It's kind of a weird standoff situation with those pawns. Maybe I play h6 then. I don't know. I can look at this one more time. I have rook g8 there. G8 is interesting, actually. Wow, that's a hard position to assess, actually. Like competing pawns. Okay, I said I was going to play rook a4, but now I'm looking at that trade possibility because I'm noticing rook g8 now. And actually, that's going to be hard for white, it seems to me. We have like competing fast pawns. Ugh, this is tough to assess. Getting to crunch time. What's wrong with this, though? This g3, I'm not 100% certain about. Could go into this ending. Rook g8. Check here. Take, check. Then a hard decision for white. Probably like king d1, but then f3. And already they have a hard time stopping that pawn. All right, let's try this. Let's try it. This is my idea. This is the big old idea. It's a little dangerous, though, because admittedly, white can go after this, and white's going to have two distant pawns. But I'm kind of trusting that my f pawn is actually the most dangerous pawn on the board if I take this. And to stop it, white's probably going to have to use their king, which entails losing the c pawn, and then the a pawn's exposed. Okay? And my king is kind of coming up here. It's like nesting nicely between the pawns if needed. Man, I don't know. This is a tricky one. This might be the critical move, but that takes some guts to play. And it might be losing, but okay, king d1. So that one I was thinking here. f3. Getting the king up is another possibility. It's a little bit slow. I could also check and try to come behind, but then rook a7. f3, I think, requires white to play king e1. So let's do it. And it just feels like white's going wrong here, but still going to be tricky, even knowing that king e1 is kind of forced, unless I'm missing something. Because I'm threatening check, and the king cannot go here. It'd have to go to d2 and then f2. At this point, I'm less concerned about the time. It's still a factor, but with that 15-second increment, you can play a high-quality ending. I'm more concerned about the theoretical assessment of this ending. Fascinating one. I don't know. I still don't know. King e1. I pick up the c-pawn. Let's say a4 there. I'm thinking I might try to get my king up to support the pawn and like threaten back rank stuff, while white is trying to push both pawns. It takes a while for white to push the a pawn in particular. These two pawns are both fairly close to promotion. Yep, white does play that. Okay, now I could throw in this check, but king here, I don't see an advantage. Unless I go here. That's kind of a funny idea. Maybe I should throw that in. Ooh, look at that. And if I throw it in, it could assist in creating mate threats, but nah, maybe not. I don't know. Check king. White probably will play king f1. We have to assume they're going to go there. Yeah, I'm going to scoop this. My gut tells me this is a winning endgame, but I'm by no means relaxing. Not for a second. I mean, I am up 2 pawns. So it's just a question of how dangerous these are. If a4, I'm thinking king up. Honestly, it's not out of the question that we march in. Like that would be a pretty typical scenario in this type of ending. See what white cooks up here. I don't really see much else other than a4. Maybe rook a7. You got to keep both these pawns alive, I think, to have a chance. Because this central situation is all in black's favor here. These pawns are all nicely clustered. He plays h6. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised because I thought I could just take, then bring the rook over. And I can hide my king if white tries to set up checks. Yeah, let's see what their idea is. Take. Okay, now we'll get behind the pawn per the classical advice. In h7, I'm going king e5. And I have a lot of moves I can play with my king up the board where the king is undercover, and I don't get checked, especially this and this. Yeah, so now white's threatening this, followed by promotion. So very important that we play a king move. I'm not going to go to any of these squares. Those allow skewer tricks. So I'm almost certainly going to play king e5 here, just looking at if f2 or something makes sense. But now let's play king e5. So the fact that white doesn't have a check to free up the rook is key here. Really, white's only plan is this and this. But it shouldn't matter. If white plays king f1, and I think almost certainly they will, I'm debating now if I just want to go c4. c4, let's say take, king g1, rook h3. And with the competing pawns, it's tough for white. Okay, I feel like I can almost calculate out this win at this point. C4, take, king G1, rook H3, king F2, C3, king E3. I mean, F5 in a position like that's like almost a zugzwang. Yeah, I think I can get this down to like 2 pawns versus none, which is a win. Because white's going to have to move this rook at some point. Yeah, let's do this. So again, I'm not exposing my king, just keeping this here so there's never a check. King here, I can maybe play F2, take, promote. Then I'd have to calculate if I can go in the pawn. I probably would be able to. But it's like, why even risk that? When I can just play like rook H3. There's also rook check and come here, by the way. Another option. Yeah, that might be even cleaner. Okay, so white makes a break for that immediately. We're gonna take now. We're gonna get a trade. But I'm up 3 pawns. This pawn might even survive at this point. Rook H2. Then the king can start coming up. Let's do it. Yeah, so if white plays like this, the king comes up to F4. All right. Just the technical phase at this point, folks, which is important, just as important as any other phase of a chess game. Let's give it a check. Can always repeat if needed in an ending like this. But let's give a check first. See if white goes this direction. Yeah, so now there's stalemate ideas, but I can back my rook off along the G file. I think should be pretty clean here. Yeah, I'll just play like rook G8. No stalemates because H2 is now available. Threat is F2. And I think this should be over soon. But just always being vigilant. We don't need any Rosen traps here this late in the game. Yeah, not a whole lot else to say. I mean, F2 is coming. White can try to put a stop to it for a while, but my king is going to join the attack now. King D4. Yeah, let's play it. I would expect like rook A2 here. Just start inching up the board. Once these pawns start getting connected, this should be over. And now having that pawn up on the 5th rank is helpful. If side checks occur, at some point I can block with the e-pawn and connect it with the f-pawn. Okay, so white goes for that. So now I can try to calculate if I want, like this, take, check here, and this. That is another near stalemate situation. I don't think it should be a stalemate, though. So I think I may go for that. Here, take, check. King up, promote. If check here, king e3. And the only check white has at that point is rook d3, and I can take with the queen, importantly. Let's play it. Okay, last check here. I've got 30-some seconds, so I can do it. So rook g1, king h2, promote. I could even get a rook there, but I'm going to get a queen. Rook f4, queen takes f4. Rook d6, king e3. Rook d3 check, queen takes d3. Let's do it. I think white's going for this too. I think white has seen this whole idea. So kudos to them for going for it. It's a mad rook scenario, they call it. And you just have to make sure that you don't stalemate them. Or if you're going to allow this like box situation, that you have an escape from the mad rook where it's trying to sacrifice itself. Right, so here I'm not going to take with the king. It's just the last stumbling block because that would be stalemate. No tricks left here. Now, if there wasn't the pawn here, that would be a little more complicated, right? In fact, if there was no pawn there, would that be winning? I'm not sure, actually. But there is a pawn here, so yeah. My opponent resigns. Thank you for the game. Really interesting game. Very, very interesting. I don't have a ton of time to analyze it, unfortunately, so I'm going to do a very, very brief analysis here. I'm mostly interested in like this situation around about here. I thought for a while on these moves. And also maybe around here, like trying to consolidate the advantage. I do feel like white was close to getting full compensation. I think in terms of big mistakes, I definitely didn't like rook takes b6 for white. And I did not like f4. And I have a feeling this ending is probably losing for white. So let's take a very quick look. Yeah, responding to the wing gambit with b6. Definitely best is takes. And then white plays a3, and the move is d5 here. Haven't looked at this for a while, but that's the proper way to play it against the wing gambit if you want to try to accept the pawn, but wasn't really interested. I know b6 is playable, even though it's given dubious, but remember, b4 is also given dubious. So we're just declining the pawn. Yeah, e5, not given a clean bill of health. And d3 is a blunder. Let's turn the engine on here. By the way, just as a reminder, I do recommend trying to analyze a little bit without the engine, even if it's doing what I just did a moment ago, where before I clicked to the analysis board, I just had some key moments in mind that I wanted to use the engine selectively on. But I had drawn some conclusions myself. Oh, so this is crushing. Did I miss something elementary here? Or is this just that good? Is this one of these computer evaluations? Oh, I think I missed something. Oh. Wow. That's actually pretty obvious. Many of you have already written this in the comments. D5. Okay, I should have seen that. I think I hallucinated here that for some reason I wouldn't be on the rook. Yeah, I'm just attacking the rook. Of course. Okay, so yes, you in the YouTube comments, you are correct. D5 would have been stronger here. along with other moves too. I mean, bishop b7. Okay, not a move I considered really seriously at all. This still preserves a -2.5 advantage, but far, far worse than the d5 move. Yeah, I should have seen this. I don't know what my... Because I mentioned this move, but for some reason I just dismissed it. All right, got to practice my tactics, apparently. Well, we wouldn't have had such an interesting game had I done that. All right, so this is still -2.5, -3. Yeah, king e7, it's not a big fan of. Suggest this and then g6 instead. Try to get the king here. I guess that makes sense when I have the file still. Okay. Yeah, roundabout here, this is where I was debating like king f7 or rook g8. King f7 I didn't like because of this. But rook takes b1 and then rook d8. Uh-huh. Okay. So this, on the other hand, wow, look at that resource. Take, rook b1. That's a sick idea. To try to seize the file. And if I take the free rook, queen c7. Wow. And I'm guessing this is a draw. Oh, check here. Not even check there. Check here. So that if there's a check on this square. And this is apparently a perpetual. Disgusting. Yeah, it does feel like white probably is close to equality here. But that's the way to do it. Rook takes b8 and then rook b1. That's nasty. And then to play on, I'd have to trade queens or something. Maybe queen c8. But if I trade queens, like white gets the file. Guess I still press here. Play rook d7. Okay, good. And rook b6 is a strong move. Nice. And rook takes b6. It actually says that. I was skeptical of that move. Yeah, I thought white should maybe delay that decision. Here I was starting to feel better about my position. Yeah, and h5. It feels like white kind of rushed the counterplay. Queen f4 suggested, trying to come in here. Yep, that is a mistake, so I was correct about that one. And originally I was going to play rook a4. Then I started looking at g3. Wasn't quite sure how great this was. So I eventually settled on the endgame, which seems like my gut was correct here. Rook g8, key move. Rook takes a2 is obvious, but better to go after this pawn, actually. So my f pawn becomes dangerous. Yeah, and I'm just trusting this evaluation, but it felt winning in the game. I thought white should go king e1 right away. Yep, f3, take. I was really only looking at a4 here, and I thought maybe I just start bringing my king up. Engine also says e5, start connecting the pawns is really good. I probably would have played it like this. And then, I don't know if here, trying to take the pawn if my king moves, maybe get behind one of these pawns. I could see something like this happening, basically. Where white's trying to advance, but it's very slow compared to what I'm setting up. And this is already forced mate. So I think one of these endings that probably looked a little scarier based on the outside pawns than it actually is. Seems like black's winning pretty comfortably. Yeah, and this is an awkward situation, but you got to watch out for tricks. Like king e7, natural move to try to approach. Runs into the rook coming over to one of these squares. Typical tactical idea you got to watch with a rook on the 7th rank. I have videos on this with the physical set and the king and rook and pawn endings. Take, check, and you get skewered. So just keep your king safe here. White's threatening rook d8. So king e5 clinches it. And I don't have a whole lot else to add to what I did. Maybe white could have won another pawn, but even if I just had these connected pawns, this is a winner. That's a winning line. Yeah, I'm just being vigilant about stalemates. Again, rook d3. Not taking with the king, but taking with the queen. Game over. Okay, so I give myself reasonable marks for this game. Been a while since I did one of these videos. I definitely should have seen the d5 move. I'm upset with myself that I didn't think about that seriously enough. I think I just assumed it would be similar, and it was a move order, just a move order thing that was inconsequential. I don't even know how I could describe my thought process there. I was correct that there was something better here. So my instinct that I had missed a larger advantage definitely proved to be true, like around here and where I was trying to consolidate up the pawn. Okay, fascinating. Thanks again to my opponent for the game. And I hope you guys enjoyed this standard video. Good to be back to making some content. And congratulations if you saw the strength of the d5 move right away. Good little move order problem. And even IMs like myself, we miss stuff like that, especially in the heat of the moment. All right, so thanks, guys, and I'll see you again soon.